All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Bishop Alfred ROTICH is still here with us from KCCB. Mark BICHACHE, communication strategist, and Dennis NTHUMBI, governance expert, is still with us. Now we're talking about leadership and integrity. Or should we bring up the feedback first of all before we get there? Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya is the hashtag Daybreak. Let's see what you're saying in regards to the conversation that we'll be having. Abdi Kadir says these greedy MPs will fight back once they are re-elected back to parliament. SRC is just playing with the mind of Kenyans because the commission have nothing to show to Kenyans of what their office is all about. That is in reference to the pay rise that has been cut, the allowances that has been cut by SRC. Kap Rauji says the DPP made a decision to defer corruption charges until after the elections because during elections, whichever the judgment, it will be viewed in a political way, either to finish or raise the status of a political groupings. Okay. Odongo Rolex says Kenyans still don't trust IBC even though they are trying to calm things down. Their body language is not convincing considering yesterday's press briefing. Okay. Engineer Lazaro says, Trevor, the uncertainty was all about IBC failures to consult players and to inform stakeholders in every aspect of their moves. Trust can't be there when only one player seems to know more than all the others. Okay. Kevo Wodadori says a leader who should be elected is one whose modus operandi is revolving around true cause to serving and one that meets the threshold of integrity. Leaders should be elected purely based on meritocracy. And this is where our conversation starts, Bishop. When you look at the front page of the Standard, why Gachagua lost 202 million to the state. After 3 years of investigation, the trips to the court, UDA presidential running mate will lose his millions in the wake of a ruling that the money from the government agencies was acquired through corruption. 19 billion shillings total amount transacted in his accounts between 2013 and 2020. 7.3 billion amount received in his 3 accounts at Rafiki Microfinance. And the figures continue, colossal figures. What are Kenyans missing every single time when it comes to integrity, electing a person of integrity? What are we missing?
Let me thank the media for bringing out this. I would not have known. Because all the time we are meeting people, we don't know, we don't have a barometer, we don't have the Kim's kit to look at their hearts. Because what happened in terms of ethics is the thinking and is the doing. And that is why we preach always, even in the scriptures, it says, pure heart and clean hands. So what happens in the heart, sometimes it's operated from what people do on a daily basis. We know that this country plays what we call integrity and ethics in the society. But on a daily basis, who is watching us? It is our conscience, yes. But many people have closed their consciences and they're operating on what we call laissez-faire. They do things on the market and they're not accountable to anybody. We pray that what we are doing in these elections will help us, even today, even tomorrow as we go to elect, that Kenyans need to give the agenda. It's not the politicians to give us the agenda. We must give them agenda. As they take an oath of office, we must be able to ask them, what is it that you are saying? Is it true that your manifesto is saying A, B, C, D, and you are able now, on the first day, not 100, not 50, but on the first day to say, look, I am worth this amount, just as I said before. And we hope when they were being vetted, many dossier was produced by the individual, but we are not the consumers. So what we are encouraging on a daily basis, because Kenyans have a deficit of trust, let us use this moment to encourage them and to appeal that as they sit on their leadership chair, to say, I and my people and the government will do this ABCD and truly do so, so that individuals are not what we call thrown the mud at the helm and at the almost close to the goal. So that on a daily basis we see a list of shame. on a daily basis, Lisa, not only in Parliament.
Yeah.
And then all the agencies that are trusted with the responsibility of tracking these ought to really work on 25 hours. And the media, again, will help us to reveal some of the things that we don't see on a daily basis.
Okay.
But we also encourage people that they don't sleep on their conscience.
Yeah.
Let them be always dutiful to know that, yes, it is wrong to do A, B, C, D. It is right. And there are many right things that we need to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Mark, you know, when it comes to integrity, it's a very relative term. In fact, right now, the conversation around this money that has now been restored back to state is that it is a political move.
You know, what is interesting, you can not tell exactly what the response from the political side of UDA is going to be. One, he's being targeted because he's a supporter of William Ruto. Two, this is an extension of state capture. Three, there are thieves on all sides, and a particular thief on one side has not been caught. And the reason they do this, and I'll speak as a communication strategist, it's called whataboutism. Okay, if you catch one thief and then you say, what about the other thieves? But that's not how society works. No thief goes to court and says, by the way, I was arrested illegally because we robbed the bank 10 people. I was the only one arrested. Let's wait until the other 9 are arrested. Then we can have a case. The thieves don't think like that, but Kenyan politicians do. And these defenses of targeting and whatever, miss the most important point. That this person was asked to account for 200 million shillings. Where did you get it? He failed to do so before a competent judge and a competent court. He failed to do so, which means he has failed an integrity test. But in this country, we have decided that Chapter 6 of our Constitution is a flower garden. It is nice to look at, but we have failed to implement it. And we failed to implement it, and I'm not ashamed to say this, from 2013, when we decided that people who had serious cases at The Hague could run for top office. And that is where the rain started beating us. Because you cannot go back now and say that now let us change that precedent. And that is why he is on the ballot today, despite the cases. But the thing that hurts me the most is the message that we are sending out to Kenyans. And this is how I mean. EABL just announced a huge profit of 15.6 billion shillings in profit. EABL, to make 15.6 billion in profit, look at the advertising, the bus stops they need to do, the staff establishment they have, the number of Kenyans that have a livelihood from what they do. You look at cooperative banks, Safaricom, etc. They are working hard to ensure that the profits they make are legitimate. But look at Baba Yao. His company is Baba Yao, Mama Yao, and their daughter Yao. And they make the same profit as a multinational, as a company that has more than 4,000 employees. You come to Rigathi Gachagua, him and his son, one son, has a turnover every year, in 5 years, of almost 3 billion shillings. And people will stand without shame to defend them. Now, I am wondering, what will I tell my child when he asks me, Daddy, why can't you also make 15 billion? And I tell him I'm a man of integrity. Then he will ask me what David the psalmist asks, of what good has it been, O Lord, that we have followed you and kept our hearts pure? Why? Of what use? And he said when he considered the way of the wicked, his heart almost gave up. This is the issue we are creating in this country. It is not just that someone who is proven to be corrupt, and also, by the way, proven to be a liar, because his net worth, as he said during the debate, is totally different from what the courts have found. He lied. He is a confirmed liar. And yet, Kenyans will line up to vote for him. And yet, Kenyans will shortly, in 2 minutes or so, begin to defend him.
All right. Dennis, let me bring in...
I wanted to say
Bishop.
something.
Before I bring Dennis, yes.
Yeah, this is the moment.
Yeah.
And you and I, it is not the politicians we elect, it is you and I who will decide on the ballot. Let me say, and I want to tell you, that if I know that the people or persons who are posing to be to coming to me asking me for my vote, I know what I'll do in the ballot box, to say no. And this is what I want to encourage Kenyans. Say no in the ballot box, because you cannot shout like they do, but go to the ballot and say no. And when you say, I'm not going to elect A, B, C, D, you have done this country a defense of Chapter 6.
Okay.
Let us be people of integrity.
All right, let me bring in Dennis on this. And Dennis, the other side where you belong is reading political malice in what the court has pronounced itself on. Dennis?
Trevor, thank you so much for this conversation. Trevor, from where I stand, and this is a private view, the most corrupt person in this country is the president. And unfortunately, he's not just that, he's also extremely arrogant. Trevor, for the part of his reign, the last 10 years that this country has gone through, corruption has skyrocketed all the way beyond 1,000%. As much as we would like to say that the criminal justice system has been used for political expediency, which is true, unfortunately, the president, as his person, is unable to account within issues of Eurobond 1, 2, and not just that. We are looking at KEMSA, where his own relatives were implicated. We are looking at bloated contracts. When you look at the expressway, all the way from around close to 30 billion. Today, the expressway is going to cost Kenyans almost 140 billion. When we are looking at private contracts of SGR and many other things, when we're looking at the current issue of KU. And so one of the things that we have to do, Trevor, is lift the immunity within presidency and within the political circles. Is that one of the things we have to do is strengthen institutions to the point that a sitting president can be arrested and prosecuted and charged in a court. That immunity is what has expended that we cannot be able to deal with corruption. And that's the reason why, as Kenya Kwanza, we talk about the commission, the quasi-judicial commission on state capture. Traditionally, all the way from independence to where we are, the issue has been that all mega corruption has been perpetuated at the presidential level. And so when you have a corrupt president, then this country must continue to limp and suffer within the quagmire of an audited corruption. Corruption that seeks today to today ensures that food rations must come from State House.
But Dennis, we're talking about the integrity of the leaders we choose, not so much in terms of the role Kenyans have to play when you talk about integrity of the leaders they're choosing. And there's an election coming up in 10 days.
And Trevor,
so
that's
the question is, what are we
saying,
missing as a country?
And I said, Trevor, I mean, we have to be able to lift political immunity so that our leaders are held to account. There is no Kenyan in their right mind who is going to choose somebody who's going to steal from them, technically. And I'm telling you, two things must happen, Trevor. The first thing that must happen is that we must lift immunity on the fact that a sitting president cannot be able to prosecute. As long as there's at presidential level, the expediency, that president can never be investigated. His people can never be investigated. And that's what I'm saying. The second thing that we have to do is ensure that we give financial independence to institutions that are charged with fighting corruption. And then also, number three is that we have to make sure that Kenyans are financially independent and they have the strength to come against this demon of corruption. And I'm telling you, it is corruption today that has affected the cost of living. It is corruption today that has made the healthcare system inaccessible. The problems we have in this country is because corruption has repurposed government and it has repurposed financing, and corruption has worked only for a cabal of few. And this is where we are. When you look at Chapter 6 of the Constitution, the inability to make sure that we mainstream this habit is killing the Bill of Rights. That today Kenyans don't even enjoy the Bill of Rights. It has injured Chapter 13 of the Constitution, on what a public servant should be. It has again dealt a blow on Article 43, and that is a socio-economic right, you know, at the end of the day. And I can cite 1 or 2, 3. When you look at Article 10.2 of the Constitution, that is our national values of governance, we haven't ratified that. And the thing I'm telling you, Trevor, is what we call presidential immunity.
Okay. Political
immunity is that you can use the criminal justice system at your beck and call.
Okay.
Even though we made sure that the office of the Inspector General of Police has constitutional safeguards. And so that immunity sits as one of the greatest impediments towards ensuring that we rationalize integrity.
Okay. Yes.
You know, one of the things that is very funny is every time UDA is asked about any of their own who's corrupt, the first thing they go is this roundabout thing about whataboutism. Now, let me give you an example. Martha Karua came out and said that her value is 150 million shillings, okay? Now, we know UDA is in opposition. Why is it that they have nothing to say about her finances? Because it is easy to cast wide aspersions without being specific as to who you are attacking. And let's be clear that we need in this country to draw a line between those who are corrupt and those who are not corrupt. For example, Waihiga Mwaure is a presidential candidate. Why isn't anyone talking about any of his scandals? Simply because he has none. So you cannot say that the political space, everyone is corrupt and therefore corruption should not be an issue. And I think that is the mistake that we are forcing down the throat of Kenyans, and it should not be so. You cannot be thus convicted. Then you start telling us about other people. How many people running for office are corruption free? There are many. In every single election, there are many. So the idea that we want to put mud on everyone, even when people are able to account and say, this is what happened. And this is why I'm extremely proud of Martha Karua. She had an accusation. She had an allegation. She was told tobacco money. Did you hear how she explained it in the debate? She said, I honestly received money. I honestly took it in good faith for my campaign. It later turned out that this money was an issue. It was ventilated in the court. I had no wrongdoing. That is integrity, and it is possible. So the idea of saying that the president is immune, if the president is immune, why are we selecting a deputy president potentially who has an obvious case that he has lost, and there's still many more cases that he needs to answer for? Kenya needs to draw a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a line in the sand that whether someone is in Azimio, is in Kenya Kwanza, whether it's Mark Bichachi or it's Dennis Tumbi or it's a good bishop here, if you have a case in court, go finish your case, then come run for office. Okay. That is what should happen.
Dennis, I know you want to respond, but Dennis, let's try and keep away from the names of the people that you're now mentioning here. We're talking about leadership and integrity, but yes, Dennis.
Trevor, I want to correct my brother, Bichachi, and tell him that there are serious integrity questions that hang on the person of Raila Odinga and Martha Karua. When you look at Martha's record when she was a minister in charge of justice, she stood as the biggest impediment to...
Dennis, I want us to stay away from those matters, because let's talk about matters that have already been ventilated in court and dealt with. This one is on the front page of the Daily Nation. That's what we're referring to. And we're talking about leadership and integrity here. For Kenyans, what should they be looking for in a leader? That's the focus. Because now we're starting to trade a very thin line. We'll all be sued here. So let's stay away from that line. Let's talk about a case that has already been ventilated in court.
When I'm asking them about leadership and integrity, I want them to check on how Martha Karua treated Githongo, how she expended Kimunya from the sale of...
Dennis, let's stay away from those names callings, because that will get us all in trouble.
And it's actually a matter that went to court.
I'll move away from both of you and bring in Bishop here.
Because was taken to court. Yes. And this matter that he's talking about was ventilated and determined in court.
Okay.
And he needs to praise himself.
Let's talk about issues that are already here on the front page of the Daily Nation, concluded by the court. What now is the way forward, Bishop? What should Kenyans be thinking about as they head into the elections? And how do we reactivate Chapter 6, which is of leadership and integrity?
And that is why civic education is very necessary. And we don't do civic education when we are about to elect the leaders. Civic education is an ongoing formation. And if we have to allocate finances, then this is the area, because we are talking about what we see and what we want to achieve. One of the things that we need to do now, because the election season in 10 days to come, is to activate this in the sense that we educate the voters, use all the means to say, your chance, the time is coming now, on the 9th. Go to the ballot box and draw that line that my friend is saying, and use your conscience and say, leader A, leader B, you are not going in. And the results will be announced, and this country will judge itself. One of the things that we want to build is the courage. Courage to do the right things at the right time, at the right place, and to do it rightly. Many Kenyans don't have the courage. They fear the politicians. They fear many things. What I want to build in is the courage to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Let's now go to the ballot and exercise the integrity that we have as people and say no to corruption. And you cannot, that is a chance.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there are also many people are saying that the religious leaders like yourselves have failed the nation in terms of being the guiding moral compass.
Yes, we accept in one way, because we are vilified when it comes to saying we have failed. If you look at all the announcement by the bishops, we had also, as Catholic bishops, we resolved to come out, even from Subukia, and we said we must say no to corruption. Did you know that it has helped greatly this nation? The things that we do sometimes look that we are not helping the nation, but we are building democracy. I think we don't want to grade ourselves, but I'm saying on a daily basis, we try our level best. And our level best is to have the courage whenever we are given space, and the space that we have is with the sheep, and to increase volume, to dialogue with the institutions of government. And by the way, some of these, like even putting the IBC in place, the current IBC, was a result of our work. We went and vetted them. Well, we did not know them, but these are Kenyans.
Yeah.
The current people who are sitting is what we call midwife dialogues. We are not sleeping, and I think the judgment is only coming when we have done our work. We are now actually saying no to corruption. And I want to encourage people to see that the work of the church is not that only that is being seen. Most of the work done by the churches is behind the scenes.
Okay.
I counsel people who are fighting, and they come together. I go to prison, and I tell them, allow Jesus Christ to set you free before the law of Kenya sets you free.
Okay.
Yes. And
right.
I want to add this way, that those who are in prison are lucky people, because the law caught them. There are many of us out here, all citizens, who are still at large.
Okay.
We need to work very hard.
So they're luckier than those of us who are walking around.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, Mark.
You know, one of the things that the line we need to draw, and I think the Supreme Court did us a big favor. Sonko is part of Azimio. So let me talk about Azimio. Sonko was impeached. He went through a judicial process. After his impeachment, he went to court seeking redress. And the courts have affirmed time and time again, whether it is the High Court, the Court of Appeal, or the Supreme Court, that he was legally impeached. And therefore, he does not qualify to run for office. And that is the position. Now, we cannot then say that Sonko is being targeted. By who? You cannot say that the behavior of Sonko when he was governor is something that we can sit and excuse. We can't. And therefore, we took him through a process that showed that he's unworthy of leadership. And today, the Supreme Court has saved the people of Mombasa from making an awful decision of returning Sonko to their books. Now, the truth is, and this is not an Azimio position, it should not be a Kenya Kwanza position or a Roots Party or an Agano Party position. It should be a Kenyan position. That if today Mark Bichachi is caught in a corruption scandal, I should not run for office. Why? Because the watchman who stands at my gate, or the watchman who's at the gate of your estate, when you hire him and he comes to tell you, by the way, I am in court, I have a case where I stole a bunch of bananas, will you give him a job? No. For stealing a bunch of bananas, for stealing a chicken, a Kenyan will pay a high price. But in this country, for as long as what you steal hits above 100 million, now you're a hero. Now you are a martyr. Now you're being killed like Jesus for the rest of us sinners. That mentality is what needs to change, and we need to stop excusing thuggery and theft and putting it in the political limelight. And it is not an Azimio position. It is not a Kenya Kwanza position. It should be a Kenyan position.
All right. Dennis, as a governance expert, 10 days to the elections, what should the Kenyans be thinking about as they head into the ballot?
Trevor, allow me first of all to register my displeasure. You don't want me to talk about Mother Karua and Raila Odinga.
Because I don't have evidence on everything you're saying, Dennis, and that exposes all of us to libel cases and defamation.
Trevor.
I'm talking about a case that has been done and dusted by the court just yesterday. That's the reason why we can't allow that, because we don't have evidence to it, Dennis. There are
Trevor,
rules that we have
what
to
do you mean
adhere to.
What do you mean I don't have evidence? We know about Kemsa billionaires. We know about the Gidongo issue, the Kimunya issue, the fact that Mother Karua defended Atuma Garian. We know about BAT. Those are issues that you can get. We know about the diversion of services to BBI. We know about Raila's molasses plant issue. We know about the issue of Dominion Farms. That is evidence that is in the public media. I mean, it is in the public space. What we are saying is that we don't like these bias, and we also don't like the fact that the criminal justice system is being used in a way to achieve political expediency. That is what we are saying. The law must be applied equally to everyone. And this issue that you want us to, some people would want us to blot the criminal index of other people's and then we expend others, is what we are calling as absolute hogwash. We must be able to apply the law equally. Integrity is not just a measure of one side. It is a measure of all sides. And that the president must account for the COVID billions that were lost. And that's what we are saying. And whether he's in office or he's out of office, what I keep on saying is that the immunity at the presidential level and at the political level must be lifted so that the criminal justice system will not be used for political expediency, but for the benefit of Kenyans. I think that is a rational statement that we must apply. And that's the reason why, as Kenya Kwanza, we have the strongest stand on corruption. And that's the reason why we are saying, for us to medicate this, Transparency International has said that the only way to go, we have done tons on law reforms, the only way to go is to do a quasi-judicial public hearing where all Kenyans will bring the evidence upon everyone. Going to the election, this election is about the socio-economic status of the Kenyan. It has to be about the capacity to deal with the high cost of living. It has to be the capacity about accessing affordable and reasonable healthcare. It has to be about restoring the dignity of Kenyans that has been robbed for a very long time. It also has to be about dealing with state capture, whether we will, the president will retire or whether he'll be given another term. It has to be about bringing in a culture that is people-centric and not a culture that is autocratic or baron-centric. It's not about a country that is working for 10 people or 6 people. It's a country that is working for plus 55 million Kenyans. So it has to be about a Kenya that is inclusive, a Kenya that the economy works for everyone, a Kenya that the policy framework and the legal framework is fair for all Kenyans. And that's what we are saying, that the only people who have that platform and who have that intent is Kenya Kwanza.
Okay.
Dr. William Samoei Ruto.
All right.
Please, on August 9th, vote for him.
All right, let me bring in Bishop to wind up on this conversation. Bishop.
Well,
and there's this tendency that we have as Kenyans to, when there's an issue, we try to blame all sides. Yeah?
Yes.
So if Bishop is got on the wrong side, we also say also Trevor was there.
Yes.
Does that make it right, though?
I think it is important what has been ventilated in the few minutes we have been here, and especially as you hear, the representing many Kenyans, is that let's create a space where when the candidates have been vetted and declared that they stand for a certain position, let's, media and all of us, begin now to vet them before they go on their trail for asking for votes. Let's build this country together. Let's ask all the agencies, the police, the IBC, all agents, the churches, the religious bodies, the mosque. Let's gather together and collectively access what we call sobriety so that IBC is able to explain itself, let there be clarity be seen, and therefore move towards election and exercise that chapter of integrity by casting a vote and by saying yes to people whom you think, because at now you cannot, they are ready for election. Cast a vote and say no to corruption. All right. And then we pray that God will give us what we are asking. And what we are asking God in this forum and everywhere is to grant us peace. Okay. We encourage the presidential candidates, all the candidates, to be sober and build this country together.
Okay. Mark, 1 minute as we wind up.
I think the most critical thing that we must remember is when we look at the history of our politicians, let us remember where they stood when it mattered most. Let us remember where Martha Karua, Rigathi Gachagua, William Ruto, Raila Odinga stood in 1992 when we needed heroes to fight for this country. Let us remember where the same people stood in 2002 when we were at the cusp of the Second Republic. Let us remember where they stood in 2010 in regard to the Constitution. And with that history therein, let us make a decision now, knowing that a tiger does not change its stripes. If one was a lion yesterday, devouring all manner of flesh, trust you me, the appetite of a lion will never turn green. He will never become a vegetarian. He will never look at a salad and say, oh, wow, how appetizing. So if the appetite says enough is enough, I'm telling you, you should know the grave, death, and greed have no bottom.
Okay. Bishop Alfred ROTICH, thank you so much for making time. KCCB member, Mark BICHACHE, communication strategist, and NTHUMBI, governance expert. Asante Sana. Let's bring up the feedback real quick before we wind up and make way for DJ Gigi, who's on the decks. It's Friday. That's what you're saying. Pacho says the issue between DCI and IBC was ugly till IG came in. It is important government office talk less and work more, and when it is time to talk, all facts should be on the table. Government agencies must be cautious, okay? Okelo says IBC waits until something pops and questions by a different body, then come out and speak, which is wrong, and portraying them as operating in the dark. The best thing to do is to keep communicating with the people, because this election is our right, not a favor. Okay. Teardrop says Dennis Thumbi is saying corruption is the biggest threat to development, healthcare, food insecurity, and unsustainable debt. The same character supporting UDA even after Rigathi was found guilty of corruption amounting to 202 million. Okay. Engineer Nazaro says anti-corruption purge is being perpetrated by the independent bodies set up by the Constitution. Let's stop the culture of blame game when a member coats himself between a rock and a hard place if we are serious about fighting the dragon of graft. All right, that's where we'll leave it for now. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend ahead. And DJ Gigi is up next on the decks.